In this video, we're going to talk about the difference between tracing and vouching. So we're talking about the difference between tracing and vouching. And if you're going to sit for the CPA exam, these are two terms that you're just going to have to memorize. And these are two things that you also use in daily practice if you're an accountant. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk through the definitions for tracing and vouching, and then at the end of the video I'm going to share with you my personal tips on how I memorize these definitions. So let's start by explaining what tracing and vouching is. Tracing and vouching are two different procedures used by financial auditors. So auditors are accountants that come into an organization and they look at that organization's financial records and they issue an opinion on whether their accounting records are correct. Right? And that process of doing that, they do different procedures on these accounting records. And two of the procedures they use are tracing and vouching. So, what tracing is the auditor will go and they'll find one of the original source accounting documents. And they'll take that document and they'll trace it all the way through the financial system. They'll trace that document through this system and find where it ends up on the financial statement. That's tracing. Vouching is the opposite. Vouching starts with a number on the financial statement and then goes and finds the original source document that backs up and provides evidence for that number on the financial statement. So the key here in memorizing these definitions is understanding the direction. Tracing goes towards the financial statement and vouching goes away from the financial statement. So that is tracing and vouching. And the reason why the direction is important is because these two procedures provide evidence for two very different things. Tracing provides evidence of completeness. So if you start with an accounting source document and trace it through to the financial statements, you're showing that that entire transaction is completely recorded. Vouching, on the other hand, provides evidence for occurrence. If you start with a number on the financial statement and go and find the original source document, you are providing evidence that that transaction actually occurred. So two very different things. So now I'm going to share with you my tip on how I memorized these terms. And again, what's important is understanding the direction. Tracing is towards the financial statement, vouching is away from the financial statement. So let's start with tracing. Tracing comes first alphabetically, so it always made sense to me to start there. So when you look at the word tracing, it begins with the letter T. And to me, a T looks a little bit like an arrow. And what do you do with an arrow? You take an arrow and you shoot it towards a bullseye. Well, for an accountant, our bullseye is the financial statements. And that's what tracing is. You're taking your source document and you're tracing it through in the direction of our bullseye, the financial statements. So that's how I remember tracing. Now let's talk about vouching. And what does it mean when you vouch for somebody? That means that somebody has made a statement and you are going and finding evidence to support that statement. That's what it means when you vouch for somebody. And that's what vouching means. We're starting with our statement, and our statement as accountants is the financial statement. So we're starting with our statement and then we're going and finding the original source document to provide evidence to back up that statement. That is vouching. So I hope this kind of helped you understand these two terms. They're just two terms that you need to memorize. If you do tracing and vouching in your position, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know. And if you liked this video, if you found it helpful, click on the subscribe button down below. I release a new video every week on accounting and corporate finance, so come back and check out next week's video.